first of all, Azerbaijan and the United Nations have like close relations, as we know that Azerbaijan already chaired 2 times for Security Council as a non-permanent member, and how you estimate our relations with the United Nations?
The United Nations was created 69 years ago. On Friday was UN Day, which is 69th birthday, and Azerbaijan became a member 23 years ago, so it's relatively one of the new members of the United Nations. However, I think looking back, it has been one of the very engaged members, and as you said, was managed to serve in the Security Council 2012-2013, and as a Department of Public Information as UN, we have also had several projects of cooperation. Last year in October, there was a Model United Nations held simulating the Security Council with the cooperation of the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Azerbaijan. And this week we have the first Global Youth Forum hosted by the Ministry of Sports and Youth. We had His Excellency the President deliver a keynote speech this morning, and we have about 700 participants. So it is a very strong cooperation and active member of the United Nations, as far as also the activities of the Department of Public Information, which I am now acting head.
And you said that you are first time in Baku in Azerbaijan, and what the first attracted you in Azerbaijan visiting to our country?
As a first-time visitor, I was very impressed with the beauty of your city. There's a very diverse architecture. I studied engineering at university, so I'm very interested in buildings, and you have a real wealth of a wide variety of architecture types, and you have it's clear that there's lots of investment in the infrastructure, but also in the soft structure, which is the people. The focus on education, the high rate of literacy, the high participation rate, the economic growth that your country has witnessed over the last few years is very impressive compared to any other country around the world. When you look at there's almost no illiteracy, that employment has been reduced, there's been a very strong economic growth. The President this morning spoke about the economy growing 3 times in 3 years. I think that is something that not many countries have, and they probably wish that they could have too. The reason we are here, as I said, we have a global policy forum, which is a cooperation project between UNDP, UNESCO, the United Nations Education and Science Culture Organization, and the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, which is part of the Department of Public Information. And of course, hosted, the Council of Europe is another partner, and hosted by the Ministry of Youth and Sports. By hosting this conference, Baku has actually put itself on the map as the location of the first global youth policy forum that will become a landmark in bringing ministers of youth, policy officials that care about youth issues to discuss these issues in the future.
And as you know, Azerbaijan already plays an important role in ensuring the energy security of Europe. And how you appreciate Azerbaijan's chances to integration into not only to Europe, into the world?
Well, I mean, the United Nations, of course, is an organization that tries to promote good economic and relations between countries, and that lead to economic development around the planet. So integration, economic development are very important, but now our discussion with member states, and this discussion is about the post-2015 development agenda, is about how this development can and should be sustainable. It's about sustainability, it's about sustaining the environment, it's about looking forward for the future so that the younger generation is not about creating energy now or creating jobs now, but how can we make those sustainable for the future?
Azerbaijan and the United Nations, your body, can organize like project for the beneficial of both sides.
Azerbaijan as one of the main news agency in Azerbaijan has been very good partner for the United Nations in Baku, in Azerbaijan, in covering the stories, in collaborating on a number of issues, projects that deal with the media and coverage of UN material and stories. And I think as a Department of Public Information, we have a strategic interest in partnering with news agencies around the world, and with the positive relation that we already have with Azerbaijan, we hope that we can maybe discuss other projects that can bring us even closer together And you mentioned the issue of journalists and training. This is not something that DPI does, but if we can cooperate with an agency that does that and we can do something that benefits both sides, we would be very happy to consider.
And today you attended a meeting with our Director General, and how do you think what it will give for us for the future, and how you appreciate of this meeting?
I think it's always a welcome opportunity to exchange ideas with the leader of a news agency from a very active member state, and to see that we both have the same observations about the future of journalism and how the need to continue working with social media as well as traditional media, and to work in a way that ensures that news is covered in an objective, impartial, speedy, transparent way, and that people have the right to know and member states have the right to know from that we have at the UN. So this is part of the joint win-win discussion.
And my last question about that, as you know, Azerbaijani people already suffering from the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict, and more than 1 million refugees, IDPs in our country. And how you see like a resolvement of this conflict?
Well, the UN, as you know, was created to find solutions through dialogue and through mediation. And this is what the Secretary General always talks about, the need to resolve conflicts through dialogue that brings parties together to find a solution without the use of violence.